Natasha, starting with you, what's the reality here for American consumers? We hear that these companies are going to be absorbing the cost, but give us a gut check here.
So my colleagues and I at the Budget Lab at Yale have been tracking all of these moves that we've seen in tariff rates over the course of the last many months. What we've concluded based on our models is that consumers are going to see a price increase on the order of magnitude of about $2,400 annually. And actually, when you think of those tariff rates that you were just quoting, that's not really that surprising. You're talking about effective tariff rates when President Trump took office that were in the range of about 2.5%, going up to effective tariff rates all the way up to 41% for certain countries and certain types of imports. There is just no capacity to absorb all of that and not pass it through to consumers. And that's what retailers have been telling us.
Okay, so Jillian, you heard Bessent there continuing to claim that these tariffs are going to be absorbed by the companies. But how likely is it that the importers or even the exporters in those foreign countries eat this cost? As you heard there, maybe it's not going to work out that way.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get more confusing, it has. It's like a Garthy TV miniseries, White Lotus or something like that, where the plot twists keep coming every single day. And what makes it incredibly hard to evaluate the impact is partly that the tariff rates vary enormously, and we're still not clear whether they're all going to actually be in place. And there could be more to come, because President Trump said today that chips may have 100% tariffs, pharma may have more tariffs. The China deal is still not clear. So the honest answer, we still don't know what the tariff regime is going to be. And the other huge uncertainty and the other plot twist is that there are signs that lots and lots of companies have been stockpiling the goods they need and putting them in warehouses in America. Now, they did that to try and shield themselves from the tariff increases. And at some point, those stockpiles are going to run out, but we don't know when. The only thing we do know is the very fact that people have been rushing to import in advance and stockpiling these goods has already massively distorted the GDP data and will probably create distortions for the next few months as well. So bottom line is we simply don't know, but Natasha is entirely correct that it beggars belief that all of this is going to be absorbed by non-American entities or even just companies. It's very likely that at the end of the day, the consumers will have to pay more. And I'd just like to give a quick shout out to the Yale Budget Lab for what they're doing, because this is unbelievably complicated. It's like a 5-dimensional Rubik's Cube trying to work out what's going on. And the Yale Budget Lab is one of the few, very few, given all the cutbacks right now in the academy, that's actually trying to turn this into plain English.
Well, I appreciate that also, because us mere mortals who are not economics wizards like all three of you are trying to suss through this as well. Heather, what are some of the realistic ways that we might see the impacts of tariffs, maybe outside of the inflated prices that we're already seeing on some of these goods?
Yes, it's just a matter of time before we start to see more and more prices go up, and you flashed up some that people are already noticing. It's not a good summer to be trying to buy new appliances or electronic equipment or curtains, of all things. So it really just depends. I think what else is happening, though, is the reality is the middle class in America is pretty strained right now. And certainly moderate income consumers are very, very strained. They don't have capacity to absorb another $1,000 or $2,000 in costs that Natasha was outlining. And that's why we see two trends that are starting to emerge. Shrinkflation, where the companies maybe are giving smaller, fewer number of cookies in the cookie package, or fewer chips in the chips bag. It's the same price, but you're getting less. Or another trend that's happening is what we call sneakflation. And it's this idea that they can't pass the entire 17% price increase, starting on Friday. And so instead, they're sneaking a little bit here, a little bit there, hoping that people don't notice a few dollars here, a few dollars there. But a year from now, that all adds up in those family budgets.
It's unfair to cut the amount of potato chips in my potato bag. Jillian, what do you make of the investments that the Trump administration has been touting as in concert with these tariff deals? Do you believe that that's going to make any difference for the average American?
Well, it's absolutely fascinating, because essentially what Donald Trump is using are capital flows, the movement of money, as a bargaining chip in the bigger fight about trade and the bigger attempt to exert power in terms of geopolitics. And they've been saying for months that they might want to have countries like Japan buy more US government bonds. What's happened now is they have basically demanded that EU and Japan invest more in the US. And almost as soon as this announcement was made, and it really does feel like a sort of made for TV or made for Twitter, made for tweet trade deal, supposedly, the uncertainties around the details became very clear because both the Japan and the EU have said, actually, we haven't agreed to put all this money permanently in the US. We've agreed to make loans, but we're not going to necessarily, bail you out financially. And so there's going to be a lot more fighting in the months ahead about what the terms of the deal actually do or do not mean. And it's very clear that issues that never used to be combined with trade, like capital flows or even capital controls, are starting to come back on the agenda. And that's a radically different world from where we've been for the last few decades.
Yeah. Heather, you wrote about what you call the K-shaped economy. That's a term that's sometimes used here to signal that the economy is back where there's a clear divergence between where the top are and where the bottom are faring. Can you walk us through why we're entering that territory again?
Yeah, it's really pretty simple, and that is the middle class and moderate income Americans. So we're talking about the bottom 80% of Americans have run through their savings from the pandemic and their stimulus payments, and they're back. And then there was the revenge spending era in 2022, 2023, 2024, where people were able to splurge and go on a fun vacation in the summer or buy a trampoline for their backyard or buy a fancier kitchen equipment or grill and whatnot. And now they're not. That money is run down, and most people in the United States are barely keeping pace with inflation. Their spending is sort of tracking inflation, mostly spending on the basics. At Navy Federal Credit Union, we're seeing people try to cut back on those extra purchases, try to save more, and try to use their debit card and not their credit card, because there's a lot of uncertainty right now. And what all this means is our economy now is more and more dependent on the spending of the richest Americans. That's basically what's going to determine if we go in a recession or not. Are the richest of the rich feeling like they still want to travel the nation and throw lavish parties and weddings, or are they going to cut back? It's the same thing in the stock market. You look at the stock market, we're heavily reliant on a handful of big tech companies and big banks that are doing really well because of this AI spending binge that's going on. And the rest of the economy is not really moving along. It's kind of plodding along and really struggling with all this tariff uncertainty. So there just are not a lot of legs left holding up that economy. And that's why it doesn't feel great out there.
Is there data, Natasha, to suggest that the wealthy will continue to throw the parties and kind of keep the economy afloat?
Well, so what I can tell you so far that we know is that this set of tariffs that we're seeing, it's coming on the heels of this very large tax and spending bill that the administration and Congress ultimately passed. And what that had in it is it had essentially $3 trillion of deficit finance tax cuts that disproportionately went to the very top of the distribution. And so when you combine that with the tariffs, you have this very strange, I've been saying it's kind of this reverse Robin Hood effect, because at the bottom of the distribution, you have things like Medicaid cuts, food stamp cuts, and higher prices on literally everything Americans buy. And at the very top of the distribution, you have very large tax cuts. And I think that is reflective a little bit about the priorities that we've seen thus far.
I have to ask you, while you're sitting here, you may have seen on Morning Joe this morning, Scott Bessent addressed the Yale Budget Lab, saying that it's staffed by Biden and Democratic alumni. He was essentially inferring this as a partisan enterprise. First of all, your reaction to that. And second, how do you see the politicization of data at this point?
So first of all, I would like to say to Secretary Bessent now, and I've said a version of it before, that we would be so thrilled to spend time with him and the rest of his staff at the Treasury Department, and frankly, any policymakers of any stripe that would be interested in talking to us about these models. We're very lucky to be staffed by people with a range of political experiences, having worked in government, having worked in the academy. What brings them together is that they're economists that are dedicated to doing rapid response of the ways that federal policymaking is going to impact the American people's lives. And so these are models. They are not partisan. We are a nonpartisan research center, and we really care about the work and want the work to be better. So hope Secretary Bessent will help us do just that.
Well, please keep us apprised of whether or not he accepts your invitation to that. Jillian, the polling suggests that people out there just simply do not feel that the economy right now is working for them. The latest from CBC YouGov shows 60% disapproval on Trump's handling of the overall economy and 64% disapprove when it comes to specifically inflation. Are people likely to stop spending, to kind of start saving and stop spending if they just don't feel good about where the economy is?
Well, absolutely. That's natural human psychology, isn't it? And the reality is that right now there's a huge amount of uncertainty that's weighing on almost everybody. And the danger is we're going to see more and more uncertainty, more and more potential drag to expenditure. But it's not just the question of whether consumers are spending. Perhaps one of the biggest questions of all right now is what's happening with investment, because many companies that I've been speaking to have essentially been saying, you know, it's been okay thus far. Things haven't collapsed. And remember, back after Liberation Day, many companies were warning the investors that there could be a very nasty shock and preparing them really for Armageddon. That hasn't happened yet. And so the earnings calls we've had this week, where basically companies are updating investors on what's going on, haven't been that bad. However, what is also clear is the sheer uncertainty about what's going to happen next means that most companies are not actually wanting to rush out and do big investments right now, unless it's something like a data center for the big tech sector. And so you've got this feeling of everything being on pause. And it's a bit like that kind of Wile E. Coyote moment in the cartoon where someone goes off a cliff, keeps pedaling for a long time, and then suddenly looks down and falls. The danger is that at some point, people will start to go, we just can't cope with this uncertainty, and there'll be a wider freeze.